Hello friends, this is Groove speaking. I've covered a lot of Japanese media on my channel over the last couple of years, and I've realized just how many interesting monsters there are in Japanese folklore. You may have heard me use the word yokai before, which is kind of a catch-all term for spirit, goblin, demon, monsters. And while they might sound like villains, they aren't necessarily evil. In fact, there are a lot of yokai that are completely harmless, and some that even do good. So I thought it would be interesting to make my own iceberg chart based on some of the more disturbing and creepy yokai. It's a smaller chart, but I just wanted to try and test it out to see how interesting the topic might be to people, and if you like it, I can make a much more comprehensive chart and video at some point in the future. I also did a little bit of a common iceberg faux pas, which is that I've ranked the entries by least to most deadly or disturbing, as opposed to the standard practice of ranking from least to most obscure. The reason being is that besides a handful of popular yokai that you might have seen in Japanese media, most of the entries here are obscure, especially to Western audiences, so it made it nearly impossible to make a balanced chart. One last thing, big shout out to Matthew Meyer and yokai.com. This isn't an ad or anything, I just found the website to be a huge resource in researching the video, and I think Matthew Meyer's art is awesome. So if you like the art in this video, go check out his Instagram and website, I'll link them below. But this intro is getting way too long, so let's just get into the good stuff. This is the Disturbing Yokai Iceberg.
Tier 1. Creepy but harmless. This tier is fairly self-explanatory. I mostly focused on yokai that don't interact with humans or are harmless in doing so. Starting with Abura Akago. This one just cracks me up for some reason. Abura Akago are a type of yokai that primarily manifest as hinotama, which are glowing orbs or fireballs, and possess the unique ability to transform into the shape of a baby. Essentially, they float through the night sky as orbs of fire, enter houses, and then transform into babies once inside. In this baby form, they lick the oil from oil lamps and paper lanterns before reverting back to their orb and flying away. The origin of the Abura Akago is linked to oil thieves from historical times. It's believed that these thieves, after their deaths, were then transformed into yokai as a form of punishment for their sins instead of passing on to the afterlife. It's hilarious and also terrifying, the idea of waking up in the middle of the night just to see a little baby licking the oil off of your lantern. Akateko. This is a weird one. The Akateko, meaning red child's hand, is exactly that, a disembodied red hand of a child that drops down in front of passerby from a tree. What's strange about this is that the hand doesn't actually cause any harm, but just seems to want to give the person a fright. Weird. Basho no Se. Basho no Se, or the Japanese banana spirit, are the spirits of banana trees who appear as a human face on the tree's wide leaves. They're not known to be harmful in any way, but that sounds scary as hell, I gotta say. Chochin Obaki. The Chochin Obaki, or paper lantern ghost, manifests when an old paper lantern transforms, gaining a gaping mouth, a wild tongue, and sometimes one or two eyes. It rarely causes physical harm, instead aiming to startle and scare humans by cackling and rolling its tongue and eyes. Daidarabachi. Well, giant monsters always freak me out, and this is no exception. The Daidarabachi, or giant priests, are immense humanoid yokai resembling bald-headed priests found in mountains across Japan. They are the largest giants in yokai folklore, with black skin, large eyes, and long tongues. These colossal beings are known for shaping the landscape. Their movements create mountains, valleys, and lakes, leaving a significant mark on Japan's geography. For instance, Mount Fuji and Lake Biwa are believed to have been formed by a Daidarabachi. Their impact on the natural world is legendary, with many geographical features attributed to their actions. Gaki. Gaki, also known as hungry ghosts, are tormented spirits residing in Gakido, a realm characterized by extreme starvation and thirst. These spirits, bearing a vaguely human appearance, suffer from distended bellies and tiny mouths, making nourishment an eternal struggle. The nature of their suffering varies based on their past life sins. Some can't eat at all, with food turning into flames. Others consume only unclean substances like feces, vomit, dead bodies, etc. And some can eat anything but never find satisfaction. I don't know if it's creepy, but it sure is sad. Haradashi. Haradashi, a whimsical yokai in Japanese folklore, is known for its ability to transform into various forms, all featuring a large comical face on its stomach. It can appear as a headless torso with facial features on its belly, an elderly nun, or just a goofy female monster with long hair. Not only is the Haradashi harmless, but it's actually cheerful, and it enjoys amusing amusing and uplifting people. In fact, they're known to visit lonely people, especially those who are just drinking alone at home, and perform a weird belly dance, which apparently brings them joy. I know this one seems a little out of place on this iceberg, but I just found this one kind of creepy. Like, if I was down in the dumps and this thing appeared in front of me and started dancing, I would be terrified. Hitobashira. I'm not even sure if this really qualifies as a yokai, but Hitobashira means human pillar and is referring to the real-life disturbing act of burying a still living person in the foundational structure of an important building. Pretty creepy, and the souls of the people are said to then haunt the building thereafter. Hayakume. The Hayakume, or 100 Eyes, is a yokai found in abandoned structures and shaded areas. They're covered in countless yellow eyes with large, fleshy, man-sized bodies. When their eyes are closed, they resemble pink lumps of flesh. Hayakume are nocturnal, guarding old temples from thieves at night, avoiding daylight due to their sensitive eyes. They're generally shy, avoiding human contact, but if a person does approach, one of the Hayakume's eyes might detach and follow the person, monitoring them for criminal activity. Jikininki. Jikininki, or human-eating ghosts, are ghoulish creatures that feed on human corpses. I mentioned the gaki earlier. Well, the Jikininki is a specific type of gaki that specifically is forced to feed on human corpses. These beings, appearing mostly human but with monstrous features and sharp teeth, feed on the dead, not out of pleasure but to alleviate their eternal hunger, reflecting their existence between life and death. Jikininki are visible during the day, so they actually wait till after dark to enter temples where the dead are kept so that they can feast. Kazenbo. The Kazenbo, or monk in flames, is a harmless but disturbing entity that appear on mountains and take the form of a human monk being burned alive. And that's pretty much all they do. They just sit there and burn alive continuously as people who are hiking through the mountains find them and are just terrified. Tier 2, mischievous or bothersome. This tier is for yokai that don't do any real harm other than pulling pranks, being troublesome, or giving humans a scare. Starting with Bakizori. So zori is a traditional Japanese sandal, kind of like a flip-flop but made out of straw. So the bakizori are basically ghost sandals. They come into being when someone has stopped using and forgotten about their zori. These zoris then sprout little arms and legs and a single eye. Apparently they scutter around the house at night, making noise and causing mayhem while they chant Kararen, Kororen, Kenkororen, eyes 3 and teeth 2. The first part of the chant is representing the sound the sandals make, while the 3 eyes are referring to the 3 holes the straps go through, and the 2 teeth are referring to the 2 clogs on the bottom of the sandals. I'd love to see a Gremlin style movie about the Bakizori where a small Japanese village has to try and stop all the Zori from destroying everything. Apusha. The Apusha is a creature found in the village of Kushino in Fukui Prefecture, living in the nearby sea. It looks like a red demon wearing normal work clothes and has hair made of kelp. They apparently go house to house asking for food and threatening children. They'll ask if there are any bratty kids that they can take with them back to the sea to do who knows what. Once the Apusha scares the shit out of the house's kids, the parents thank them and give them a rice cake. That's just hilarious, but I guess they're harmless. Azuki Orai. The bean washer is a strange yokai found in mountainous areas across Japan. They wash beans in streams and sing a song that goes, "Shall I wash my red beans or shall I catch a human to eat?" In the legends, people who hear the yokai singing tend to fall into the stream, but this scares the Azuki Orai away. Although they threaten eating humans, this seems just to be an empty and playful threat. Azuki Hikari. The second yokai in the bean family is the Azuki Hikari, or bean counters. They are a type of poltergeist that inhabit homes dwelling in attics and have never been seen directly. It's really a creepy one, as the yokai can be heard scuffling in the attic at midnight, followed by the sound of beans scattering across the floor, and this gets progressively louder until you hear it just outside your bedroom door or window. However, if the window or door is open, the sounds will stop and nothing will be found outside. Himamushi Nyodo. Himamushi Nyodo is a grotesque yokai resembling a Buddhist monk with a long neck, sharp claws, dark hair, and a lengthy tongue for lapping up lamp oil. It dwells under floorboards and emerges at night, particularly to disturb those who are working or studying late. While it's not physically aggressive, it frightens people by blowing out their lights and consuming lamp oil, making it much harder for them to work. I mean, yeah, it would make it harder to work with the lantern out, but how about the fact that there's a creepy monster living under your floorboards? I mean, wouldn't that be a little more of an issue? Byobu Nozoki. The Byobu Nozoki is a demented spirit that comes out of decorative folding screens and spies on people changing behind them. Yeah, that's creepy. Chochin Kozo. Chochin Kozo, translating to Lantern Priest Boy, are benign yokai resembling 12 to 13-year-old boys with bright red cherry-like faces often seen on dark, rainy streets. They emerge in places where violent murders occurred and engage in peculiar behavior, such as following people with paper lanterns, overtaking them, and then staring back eerily, repeating this until they vanish. They're believed to be connected to the ghost of a woman who was tragically murdered there. Dorotabo. Dorotabo are vengeful spirits of old men who painstakingly tended their rice fields only to witness them fall into neglect after they died. These ghosts manifest in unused, overgrown fields as one-eyed, three-fingered figures emerging from the mud, symbolizing the vices of anger, greed, and ignorance. They haunt these fields at night, lamenting, "Give me back my rice field," and disturb the new owners until they either reform their ways or abandon the land altogether. Hekeshi Baba. The Hekeshi Baba is a grotesque old woman who wanders around in the dead of night extinguishing lanterns as an attempt to make the world a gloomier place. Hirosumi Kozo. The Hirosumi Kozo is a well-known one-eyed goblin in Japanese folklore, appearing childlike and mischievous, resembling a small Buddhist monk but with shaved head and robes. It has a singular large eye and a long red tongue. Commonly found throughout Japan, especially on dark streets, they are harmless, but they enjoy scaring people by appearing suddenly in front of them and then vanishing again. Kinbari Nyodo. This is a weird one. The Kinbari Nyodo is a yokai that appears on New Year's Eve and spies on people who are using the toilet. Yeah, and it gets worse because some descriptions say that he'll attempt to stroke or lick them while they go to the bathroom, and also that just by looking at the creature, you can get constipated. I mean, what the hell? Akaname. Akaname, which translates to filth licker, are small goblin-like yokai found in Japanese folklore, known for inhabiting extremely dirty homes and public baths. They're the size of a child or a small adult, but are slender and hunch low to the ground. They're described as having a mop of greasy, slimy hair on their heads, and their bodies are naked, sharing the same greasy texture as their hair. Akaname vary in color, ranging from dark moldy green to pinkish red, but usually it's resembling the disgusting things they eat. They sometimes only have one eye and have a varying number of fingers and toes, from 1 to 5. A key feature of all the Akaname is their extremely long, sticky tongue, which they use to lick up filth such as slime, grease, hair, and all other kind of typical stuff you could imagine finding in bathrooms. They're repelled by cleanliness and only inhabit places that lack sanitary upkeep. Their presence is associated with the spread of disease, serving as a cautionary tale in Japanese folklore about the importance of maintaining cleanliness in bathrooms and homes. Furukuchi Ona. Furukuchi Ona, or Two-Mouthed Woman, is a yokai that appears as a regular woman until a horrifying second mouth hidden beneath her hair grows out of the back of her skull. This ravenous mouth uses her hair like tentacles to consume food, leading to mysteriously dwindling food supplies in households. Moving on to Tier 3, has a mental or physical effect. This tier is for yokai that have some kind of an effect on humans, whether that means the body has a physical reaction, the victim is mentally manipulated, or they're cursed in some way for having interacted with the yokai. Starting with Hinagami. Hinagami are creepy-ass Japanese doll spirits who are seemingly benevolent as they'll grant their owners every wish. Well, there is a catch. The Hinagami will continue to ask what the next wish is. Even if the owner is completely satisfied, the Hinagami will continue to hound them for another wish, and this continues even after their death, as the Hinagami will follow their owner to hell to continue harassing them for all of eternity. Amazaki Baba. So first let me explain Amazaki. It's essentially a sweet drink made from fermented rice and is sometimes alcoholic, sometimes not. So Amazaki Baba translates to Amazaki Hag. What's interesting about this one is she just looks like a little old lady, making it hard to tell that she's a yokai at all. The idea is that the Amazaki Baba goes door to door on winter nights asking the residents if they have Amazaki. Whether they answer yes or no, they'll end up becoming really sick, and the only way to prevent this is to put a cedar branch over your front door, and this will apparently keep her from visiting your house. Baka Kujira, meaning ghost whale. This is a living whale skeleton. They appear on rainy nights near coastal villages and are followed by birds and unnatural fish. These yokai are said to be souls of whales killed by fishermen seeking revenge. Anyone who even sees this creature are then cursed with natural disasters such as plagues or famine. Karawaguruma. Karawaguruma, meaning crippled wheel, is a really weird one. They appear as a naked woman riding upon a single wheel of an ox cart and are screaming in agony as they're perpetually burned alive. Pretty messed up. Anyone who witnesses this is cursed, and anyone the cursed person tells is cursed as well. This usually ends with the result of an entire village being cursed and ending in some form of disaster. Beto Beto-san. Beta-Beta-san is named after the sound that quick footsteps make. The Beta-Beta-san are unseen phantoms that match the pace of walkers and follow them slowly, getting closer and closer. Although these yokai don't physically attack their victims, people who encounter them find themselves traumatized after the event and hearing footsteps wherever they go. However, there is an easy way to deal with them, which is to simply step aside and say, "After you, Beta-Beta-san," and they'll continue to walk past you and disappear. Buru-Buru. Buru-Buru is literally named after the sound someone makes when they're cold. The Buru-Buru is the spirit of cowardice. After a cowardly act, like running from a battle, the yokai follow the cowards around and make them shiver by clinging to their collars and sending a chill down their spines. Amanu-Jaku. Amanu-Jaku are yokai that are notorious for inciting humans to act upon their deepest, most evil desires and spreading spiritual pollution. Their presence predates Buddhism in Japan, yet they're often depicted in Buddhist art as symbols of evil subdued by righteousness, such as being trampled by the four heavenly kings. The Amanu-Jaku are linked to themes of deception and undermining. Gyochu. Gyochu, translated as intestinal worm or pinworm, are mythical yokai resembling infectious creatures with 6 arms and long red tongues, known for their love of gossip. They inhabit and reproduce in sex organs, making them a sexually transmitted yokai. Well, I didn't know that was a thing. Gyochu occasionally leave their hosts to report the dreams, desires, and sins of their host to Enma, the king of hell. This tattling can result in divine punishment for the hosts. Hyosube. The Hyosube is a squat, hairy humanoid. They're characterized by their short stature, bald scalps, sharp claws, and a mouthful of sharp teeth, and they sport a constant evil smile. Their thick, greasy hair sheds constantly. They mainly feed on wild fish and eggplants, and are known for their mischievous behavior and hatred of horses. While the creatures are small, they're vicious and deadly. Even seeing one can cause a deadly, contagious fever. They are notorious for sneaking into homes to bathe, leaving a mess of greasy hair and foul stench. Offending a Hyosube, for example by discarding their hair or disturbing their bathing, can result in severe retribution such as the death of livestock or illness. Rakurakubi. The Rakurakubi is one of my favorite yokai and one of the most iconic, honestly. They inhabit the bodies of normal women, but once they go to sleep, their necks grow to incredible lengths and their heads float around. They're for the most part harmless, usually only scaring people, but it's still really creepy. Isogashi. The Isogashi is a strange yokai that feeds off the pent-up energy of humans. It has blue skin and large floppy ears with a massive nose and tongue that hangs out of its mouth. It possesses humans and makes them extremely restless, unable to relax. Amanozako. Amanozako is a fearsome demon goddess in Japanese mythology, resembling a human but with a beast-like face, including a long nose, dangling ears, sharp teeth, and protruding tusks. Known for her contrarian and temperamental behavior, Amanozako often goes against the norm, causing the clever to become arrogant and the foolish to lose their tempers. Extremely particular, her fury is unleashed when things don't go her way, with the ability to hurl gods over vast distances, and her teeth strong enough to tear through the toughest blades. Ituki. This is a pretty dark one. Ituki, or strangling ghosts, are the spirits of individuals who have committed suicide by hanging. Ituki engage in coercing living people to hang themselves, which would in turn release their own souls from the underworld as the new death replaces theirs. They typically operate by implanting overwhelming death impulses in their victims, even those who are otherwise happy and without troubles. These impulses are so strong that the person feels the uncontrollable desire to end their life. Moving on to Tier 4, violent and possibly deadly. These are yokai that do some kind of harm to humans, including violent acts leading to a potential death. Starting with Kappa. Kappa are a fairly well-known yokai who you've probably seen at some point if you've engaged in any Japanese media, or even Western media, as they were recently featured in the Fantastic Beast movies. Well, they're reptilian humanoids generally the size of a small child. They have webbed, thumbless hands and feet, a turtle-like beak and shell, and an elastic, waterproof skin that reeks of fish. One of the most defining and recognizable characteristics of a Kappa is the indent on the top of their heads that resembles a dish filled with water. If this ever completely empties of water, the Kappa will die. While some depictions of Kappa show them to be shy and friendly, they also have a mischievous and downright violent side, as they've been known to randomly kidnap women and do unsightly things to them before killing them and eating their limbs. Also, they have 3 buttholes and loudly pass gas in public. You know, just thought I'd throw that one in there. Aona. Translating to rain woman, the Aona appear on rainy days or nights as they themselves conjure the rain. They're said to be unnatural looking, haggish women drenched in rain and licking the rain off of themselves. Weird. The rain isn't just there for dramatic effect either. It's actually used as cover for their evil deeds, which is to kidnap young girls and take them away with them into another realm. Sometimes the mothers of the children who are kidnapped by the Aona actually become rain women themselves, themselves, carrying a large sack and wandering the streets searching to replace the daughters they lost. Creepy. Aobozu. Aobozu, or Blue Monks, is a large blue cyclops priest with magical powers. They appear in the spring during sunset in wheat fields and snatch up children who run through the fields. Damn, I thought these were going to be cool little Yoda dudes, not kidnappers. Datsuba and Kaneo. Datsuba, the clothing-stealing old woman, and her partner Kaneo are fearsome oni guarding the Sanzu River in Maido, which is the underworld in Japanese folklore. Souls crossing into Maido must pass them, paying a toll and crossing the river in a manner reflecting their earthly deeds. Datsuba strips the souls of their clothes, which Kaneo hangs on a tree. The weight of the clothes indicates the soul's sins, affecting their judgment in the afterlife. Those without clothes have their skin hung instead. Datsuba and Kaneo also inflict minor tortures on guilty souls and torment the souls of children too young to cross the river. Funayure. Funayure, also known as ship ghosts, are vengeful spirits of drowned sailors. These ghosts appear at sea on stormy or foggy nights and manifest as a luminescent mist that gradually forms into a ghostly ship with a spectral crew. Funayure attack living sailors by capsizing their ships, either by colliding with them, pulling them underwater, or using ladles and buckets to fill them with seawater. Hehe. The Hehe is a large monkey-like yokai that dwells deep in the mountains. It has long black hair and a wide mouth with long flapping lips. It's said that a monkey can transform into a Hehe after living an extremely long life. Fast and carnivorous, Hehe primarily hunt wild animals like boars, but they also prey on humans, especially women. They're known for their distinctive loud laughs that they make upon seeing a human, during which their lips cover their eyes. This laugh is actually how they get their name. To escape a Hehe, one must make it laugh and then strike its forehead with a sharp spike while it's blinded. Akugo. Akugo, also known as evil fish, are enormous mermaid-like creatures in Japanese folklore found in the open seas around Japan. They have the head and arms of human women combined with a fish-like body and are adorned with gold and silver scales. They also have 2 white horns on their head and can spit fire. Fishermen fear Akugo due to their size and predatory nature. Boats can get stuck on their backs, leading to capsizing and subsequent attacks where the Akugo consumes the crew. Kasha. The Kasha is a form of monster cat similar to the size of a human. They actually disguise themselves as average house cats, but will transform during a funeral in order to snatch the corpse out of its coffin and run away to feast upon it. These creatures are also used as servants from hell in order to steal the bodies of wicked people and drag them back to hell. That's metal, man. Honona. The Honona, or Bone Woman, is a spectral yokai manifesting as a beautiful young woman embodying undying love. These ghosts appear just as they did in life to visit their former lovers' homes at night, unbeknownst to their lovers who believe them to be dead. The lover is so overjoyed at their return that they're unaware of the Honeona's true form, a decaying skeletal corpse. Driven by love, the Honeona unknowingly drains her lover's life force each night, leading to his gradual weakening and eventual death. As her body decays, her enchantment intensifies, leading many men to eventually succumb, sacrificing themselves to the ghosts of their beloved. Ippon Dadara. The Ippon Dadara is a mysterious creature with a single thick leg and a saucer-like eye residing deep in the mountains. It moves by hopping and somersaulting, leaving distinctive single footprints in the snow. For the most part, this probably could have been placed on tier 1, except for the fact that this yokai becomes extremely violent only once a year on December 20th, crushing anybody it encounters by jumping on them, but only on this one single day. Katsura Otoko. While Katsura Otoko isn't scary on face value, it is dangerous. It takes the form of a beautiful man who appears on the face of the moon. He's so beautiful that anyone who sees him is captivated, and if they stare long enough, he'll offer them his hand, shaking it. However, this yokai feeds off of human life force, and with every shake, the person's life will shorten, and this could eventually lead to the person dropping dead on the spot. Chimi. Chimi is a little bit of a vague term meaning mountain spirit and refers to yokai living in the mountain areas. They have human faces with the body of a monster and confuse travelers into getting lost so that they can kill them. Kawa Akago, meaning river babies. These are cousins of the kappa with a similar indented head and hang out around rivers. Although the Kawa Akago are more human-like and have red skin. They hide in the riverbanks and perfectly replicate the sound of a baby crying, causing passerby to come investigate. Once a passing victim is close enough, the Kawa Akago pulls the person's legs out from under them, sending them tumbling into the river. While this yokai seems to only have the intention of pranking people, many have died due to this behavior, making them a dangerous yokai. Kikai. A kakai, which translates to blood clot, is a senkai, which is a childbirth monster, meaning it's born in the place of a regular baby. It's a grotesque looking creature that looks like a deformed hairy baby with 2 tongues. These creatures immediately attempt to escape once they're outside of the womb, and if they do, they'll return later to kill their mother in her sleep. Damn, that is messed up. Enko. Enko are river-dwelling yokai resembling a cross between monkeys and kappa. They're small with red faces, long elastic limbs, sharp claws, thick slimy fur, and a depression on top of their head similar to the kappa. Enko share traits with kappa, being strong swimmers and skilled in transformation, often disguising themselves as human, women, or dolls. Enko can be playful, messing around with fishermen, but also extremely vicious, attacking and even killing humans. Their favorite food is human livers, which they obtain by ramming one of their elastic arms up a human's ass and pulling their innards out. No joke. The best way to avoid Enko is to use a metal object, as apparently they're afraid of metal. Okay, let's get into tier 5. Fatal. Avoid at all costs. This tier is reserved for fully malicious yokai that have no intention other than to kill humans, and will do so if they come into contact with a human at all. Starting with Akanto. Akanto is a well-known urban legend in Japan, particularly associated with school toilets and predominantly found in elementary schools. This mysterious entity, which has taken on various forms over time, is known for haunting specific bathroom stalls, often those that are older or less frequently used. The legend typically involves a student in urgent need of a restroom late in the evening who's forced to use a reputedly haunted toilet. Once they're inside, they discover a lack of toilet paper and are then presented with a choice by a strange voice asking whether they want red paper or blue paper. Choosing red paper results in the student being violently attacked and drenched in blood to resemble wearing a red cloak, while choosing blue paper leads to all of their blood being drained, leaving them lifeless with a blue face. In some stories, people will attempt to avoid the fate by bringing extra toilet paper or choosing a color that wasn't offered as one of the 2 options, but no matter what you do, you end up dying. Teke Teke. Teke Teke has many variations, but essentially it's the ghost of a schoolgirl who's said to have fallen onto a railway line where her body was cut in half by a train. The Teke Teke is a vengeful spirit who lurks in urban areas and around train stations at night. Since the spirit no longer has a lower body, she travels on either her hands or elbows, dragging her upper torso and making a scratching or Teke Teke sound and carrying a sickle. If she encounters an individual, she'll chase them and slice them in half at the torso, killing them in such a way that mimics her own disfigurement. Aeon. I find this one fascinating. Meaning Blue Lantern, the Aona is the literal manifestation of mass terror built on the fears of large groups of people. It appears as a black-haired woman with blue skin, black pointed teeth, claws protruding from its fingers, and horns on its head, as well as wearing a blue kimono and being surrounded by blue light. The Aona is intertwined pretty closely with the Hyokomonogatari Kaidenkai. In this event, participants gather in a room lit by 100 candles. Each participant takes turns telling a spooky or supernatural tale. After each story, the storyteller extinguishes 1 candle. The room gradually gets darker and the atmosphere becomes more eerie with each tale. Supposedly after the last candle is put out, the Aeon appears out of the smoke, being built by the rising fear of the group throughout the night. It's a mystery as to what the Aeon does after being conjured. Some say it simply scares the participants before running away, while others claim it slaughters them all. Kind of made it hard to categorize because it's either fairly harmless or a straight up murdering demon. Haranago. The Haranago, also known as Hook Girl or Hook Woman, is a yokai found on the streets of Shikoku Island. By night, they resemble ordinary young women with disheveled hair, although if you look closer, you'll notice each strand of hair is ending in a needle-like barbed hook. These creatures prey on young single men walking alone. When a Haranago encounters a potential victim, she attacks if her smile is reciprocated, unleashing her hair's barbed hooks to ensnare and overpower the man. The yokai is so strong that it's impossible to break free. Once caught, the victim is torn apart and devoured. Yeah, so if you happen to be walking alone on Shikoku Island at any point, don't smile at any of the ladies on the street. Aonyobo, or the Blue Lady, is a spirit of poverty or misfortune that inhabit abandoned mansions and have the appearance of an ancient wealthy woman with a beautiful kimono, but aged over time the kimono is frayed and tattered and her beauty is faded. She also has high painted eyebrows and a white wrinkled face with black rotting teeth. She'll sit in front of a mirror constantly reapplying makeup and combing her hair as if expecting someone to arrive for her. If an unfortunate person happens to enter the abandoned home of a Nyobo, she'll devour them whole and then go back to waiting. Gnarly. Oshiroi Baba. The face powder hag is an ugly old woman with an overly powdered face who travels the streets asking young women to try her face powder. If the young woman obliges and applies the powder, her face will fall off, which the hag collects in a sack and then moves on to her next victim. Man, that took a left turn. Docky. Docky are menacing female yokai haunting seaside cliffs and preying on human blood. They target fishermen approaching under the guise of a beggar asking for fish at seaside bonfires, only to attack and drain their victim's blood. Fishermen are particularly wary of Docky, adopting a practice of loosely anchoring their boats without mooring lines for quick escapes. Docky are a specific variant of the Iso Ona, which are yokai women known across Japan for preying on sailors and fishermen. Gashadokuro. Gashadokuro are enormous skeletal giants in Japanese folklore, known to roam the countryside at night, making a distinct gachi-gachi sound with their teeth and bones, which is where they derive their name. However, they can also be eerily silent, especially when sneaking up on unsuspecting humans to crush or decapitate them. These creatures are formed from the bones of soldiers who died without receiving proper funerary rites, or victims of famine whose unresolved anger and pain transformed into a vengeful spirit. The collective grudge and energy of hundreds of these souls create a Gashadokuro. Immensely powerful and virtually indestructible, they continue to exist until their stored malice is expanded, which is kind of crazy because you basically just have to wait for them to stop being mad while they go on a rampage. Hino-enma. Hino-enma, also known as Flying Fate Demon or Fate Hindering Woman, are malevolent yokai that resemble beautiful women. They use their alluring appearance to target and destroy young men, particularly young monks. Hino-enma prey on these men by draining their life force and vitality, leading to their victims first becoming poor, then gradually weakening and eventually dying. Yeah, cue the 80s comic ex-wife jokes. Yamachichi. Yamachichi are strange and ugly humanoids that resemble monkeys, although they're originally bats that transformed into yokai after having lived an exceedingly long life. Late at night, the Yamachichi come down from the mountains, sneak into residents, and eat the breath out of the mouths of sleeping people. When they're done sucking out the human's breath, they tap on their chest before running away. If the act of stealing the breath is interrupted, either by the sleeping victim or a bystander, the Yamachichi will then flee, and the victim will actually end up having a longer life thereafter. Azuki Baba. Azuki Baba, or the Bean Hag, is the more malicious counterpart to the Azuki Arai. They're dressed in white and sing in a terrible voice. They appear at twilight and sing a song about how they're going to catch and eat humans as they count their beans. If someone witnesses this and doesn't immediately turn and run, the hag will catch and devour them whole. And last but not least, Juboko. The Juboko, or Tree Child, is a fairly unique yokai emerging in areas steeped in the bloodshed of war or mass deaths. They actually evolve from normal trees into bloodthirsty beings due to absorbing human blood through their roots. They possess branches with finger-like extensions and are surrounded by piles of human bones. The Juboko lie in wait for humans, attacking those who wander too close. They use their branch-like appendages to snatch and hoist their victims, draining their blood through tube-like twigs. The remaining flesh and organs are left for other creatures, with only dry bones then falling to the ground. The presence of these trees is often unnoticed until it's too late, as they blend seamlessly into the landscape, revealing their true form only to those unfortunate enough to get too close.
Thanks for watching, guys. As I said, this was kind of a test, but there are literally hundreds of yokai out there, and they're all fascinating. So if you want a huge mega iceberg chart on yokai, let me know in the comments. Shout out again to Matthew Meyer. Go check out his art, and of course, a big thank you to my patrons. Naomi Romero, Soma, Krusty the Crab, One Group, Ali Morgan, Laz Wishgender, Malediction, Hunter Piva, Tora, Heather M, Creepy Pasta Cube, A Slightly Bigger Ant, Hannah Broadstreet, K.A., Ricky Shadow, Chase Middleton, Kohi, and Matt Rozak. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for helping the channel grow. If you want a shout out like that at the end of every video, as well as bonus videos and a grief sticker, consider becoming a patron. But I appreciate you guys watching at all, so sincere thank you. This is Grief speaking. Goodbye, friends.
Like the little kid, I got all these moments playing over